Yo, 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 yo! I could not hold this in anymore. I was going to wait till the schedule came out tonight and put both videos combined, but there's so much to go over with these press conferences. I woke up this morning like, I can't wait to hear from these coordinators and what they have to say about this offense, this defense. You know, Michael Clay had an interview today. So there was some, I think we're going to be really excited here. There were some good things said from this interview with Sean Desai especially, and I want to get into all of that in this video right now. This is going to be a long one here probably, so sit back, relax, and let's take a deep dive into this.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? So I hope everyone is going to have a great day. I know everyone's going to have a better day after this news. We haven't heard Sean Desai press conference at all until today. So really, since he was hired, we were kind of waiting to see, like, you know, what does this guy bring to the table? What's his attitude? What's the whole thing with Sean Desai right now and why they hired him? So obviously, Sean Desai, was a I think was a coach at Temple, and then and lived in Temple, met his wife in Temple, went to Boise State as a quarterback / special teams coach, and then obviously got into the league, which is great. Now, interesting enough, like, we wanted to find out about the hiring aspect to this whole entire thing with Sean Desai, okay? Why was he hired? What were the Eagles looking for in a coach, in a defensive coordinator? Now, obviously, a culture fit was the big one here. If someone doesn't fit, you got to have a culture fit. You got to have someone that's into what the Eagles are doing, because if you don't, then you're going to, then players aren't going to like the coach. No one's going to like the coach, and he's going to be a bad egg for years to come. So that was a no-brainer. Now, the rumor from the Eagles when Jonathan Gannon was, signing with the Cardinals as the head coach, and before all the other crap was going on, Howie Roseman mentioned at a press conference that he was looking for a defensive coordinator that wouldn't mind they wouldn't mind a different scheme to this defense. That was the big one. I think after Gannon left, they were looking for somebody to kind of tweak the defense a little bit. For what the rumors were, I don't know if they were 100% true. I think Howie did say it at a press conference at the end of the year last year, not after the Super Bowl, but a little bit later than that. So Sean Desai comes in as a coach that he was hired because for his attention to detail of a defense, which I think is like, thank God. You know what I mean? You're not going to get a defense given to you on a silver platter, and then you make excuses and throw your players under the bus at times and just be like, oh, well, it's on me, but not really. It just wasn't believable. A lot of fans, believed in Gannon during the year. I thought there was just things that just didn't sit with me well on, giving teams life throughout these games. It really annoyed me how he would put his foot on somebody's neck, and then we felt very comfortable during games, and then he would just give them just a little bit of life, giving these offenses a little bit of life. And what he did in that Super Bowl, which I think behind the scenes a lot more went on. The rumors came out that Howie and the rest of that front office reprimanded Jonathan Gannon because he seemed like he didn't care after the Super Bowl. He was giddy after they lost the game. He just didn't really care at all. And obviously with the getting in trouble, talking to the Cardinals and all that stuff that was going on. So they brought in a coach now that players are not going to bail him out. A guy that's going to use his creativity as a defensive mind to have a successful defense, and attention to detail on why he was hired. Yes, that's a really good sign. Another thing I really like what Sean Desai said is, he wants everyone around the league. He wants this defense to be felt. He said the city's team reflects the city, which I really like that statement. When you look at a guy and he's talking, and you could tell if like he's just trying to act like he's gonna do really well this year. Like, I feel like when I look at Sean Desai while he's talking, I feel like I believe everything he's saying. I feel like he knows what he's talking about, and it just made me feel very comfortable. So he wants a violent style defense. Even talking about disguising coverages and split safety looks and all that stuff later in the press conference, he talked about hitting quarterbacks. He actually said impact QB physically, impacting the quarterbacks physically and mentally. Oh my God. That was another thing I was just in love with, because are we really not going to respect the worst quarterbacks in the league at, over 75, 80, even 90% completion percentage? That really pissed me off the past couple years with Gannon. And man, does he have a roster right in front of him right now that was much better than his 21 Bears defense when he was the defensive coordinator for the Bears at that time. I mean, he's talking about impacting quarterbacks physically and mentally. That's awesome to hear. That's really good to hear from him. Oh man, there's so much here. I really love it, which is awesome. The philosophy of training camp going into it is really, what Sean Desai really likes is competition. I mean, you're gonna have, obviously, competition is the most important thing in training camp. But obviously, we all know that. But he really hones in on that and takes it very seriously. The competition, daily competition, every single day. Wants to put his players in the right position to win football games. This is a coach that does not want to put his players in bad positions. He doesn't want to set up his players to fail, put them in a bad position to not succeed. You know what I mean? That's what he does not want to do. Okay. Knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your players is the number one thing, and matchups for every single week is going to be a big one for Sean Desai. I feel like we're going to get a lot out of our players from his coaching talent and what he could do. I mean, he talked about Vic Fangio a lot in this press conference, that Vic Fangio was his big mentor ever, besides his college mentor at Temple, I think. The head coach at Temple at the time when he was a coach there. He talked about Vic Fangio a lot, okay? Obviously, his style defense and disguising coverages. What he learned from Vic Fangio that was really most important was preparing and calling games, which is awesome. You know what I mean? So, I mean, Vic Fangio is, he's been coaching for 30, 35, 40 years. I don't know how long he's been coaching for, but definitely over 30 years of coaching experience and being under that. If you guys remember, Sean Desai was the defensive quality control coach for a few years for the Bears under Fangio. So him and Fangio were right next to each other on the sideline probably 100% of the time here. So that was really good to hear. But mentality of this team in 2023. What is the mentality of this team going into this season? He says, we're taking no shit from people. I mean, he didn't say the S word, but that's what he wanted to say. He said, I know I can't curse, but he's like, we're not going to take nothing from nobody. He says, mentality, grit, tough-minded. Oh, man, I love these words. I wish, God, man, it's like a breath of fresh air hearing what Sean Desai has to say about this defense. But even going back to giving QBs pressure, but look at the blitz rate for Sean Desai at 22.6%. And, it's a night and day difference. It's a breath of fresh air. It's like, this guy is not trying to be egotistical. I mean, he even said, I'm not trying to be egotistical with my defense. All I'm going to do is just coach to the best of my ability, take accountability if we fail. And that's it. You know what I mean? So that was pretty much it. I mean, that whole press conference was so warming. It was so comforting. It was just I think the Eagles hired something good here. Now, the Eagles haven't hit the field yet. We have to still see what we have roster-wise. We still have to see if we still have a weakness with this defense. We're not going to know the philosophy of this defense until the season starts. I mean, he's not going to, we're not going to hear anything from Sean Desai. But between this city's team has to reflect the city and taking no shit, toughness, tough-minded team, grit, creating ways to really deteriorate quarterbacks mentally and physically. That just shows right there. Attention to detail of your defense is why he was hired. Is And it's something that it's just so nice to hear that we're not going to let quarterbacks sit back there and play picket fence or line these guys 8 to 10 yards off the ball or not putting linebackers in the box. Like, there's so many things that just didn't add up last year. And after all what we heard behind the scenes, if Gannon being giddy and just not like, he's the main villain of Philadelphia, like, real serious, man. Like, I that guy cannot walk in Philadelphia ever again. Like, it's just, we needed a change, and it was such a wasted year last year that it really just pissed me off. Like, I want to disappear off YouTube for 2 weeks after that Super Bowl. Like, that's how horrible I felt inside. I mean, I was glad we got there, but obviously not bringing the trophy home, not just hurt us, but it hurt these players and hurt our quarterback. And, they're striving for another year. I think the future is bright, and there's a lot going on. So I'm going to move on to another coach as of right now. But Sean Desai, man, wow, what a press conference. I literally sat there like he was a priest at church. I was listening to everything he was saying, man, and I believed every single word of it. Trust me, if I felt like Eagles fans still need to give him a chance. I feel like even after this press conference, like, I guess fans could feel more comfortable. But like I said, take everything with a grain of salt because we haven't hit the field yet. But, man, night and day difference. We actually have a defensive mind in the building. We have a guy that doesn't just stand there and just takes things for granted. We have a guy that's actually going to be really not critiquing every single thing, but, he's going to know these players in and out, and he's going to know this philosophy he's bringing. We're going to have a Vic Fangio, / Gannon type philosophy with disguising coverages, but bringing pressure to quarterbacks is why he's here. And, being more stout, being more smart during these games. So that was 12 minutes of talk right there. I mean, there was a lot to say about Sean Desai, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked it a lot. So that's the news on Sean Desai. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, Brian Johnson was the second press conference. I think, the one thing I wanted this offseason offensively, I thought Shane Steichen was ended up going to stay in Philadelphia. After he lost that Panthers job, I thought he was staying. After Frank Reich got that job, I was like, okay, I feel more comfortable that he will stay. But I kind of had a feeling that Brian Johnson was going to look for an offensive coordinator job, which I think he interviewed for a few teams. I think he did. Now, after Steichen left for that Colts job, Brian Johnson got the offensive coordinator position, but he's worked with Steichen on preparing for games every single week. Okay, that was the one thing that was good about it. The routine taught him routine of planning for, getting your offense prepared for the week, which was great. Studying the play call sheet, when to call plays at the right moments during in game, which I think was a really big one. Like, there's going to be moments where you need a specific play and at a certain time of the game, whether you're up or down a certain amount of points. Brian Johnson learned a lot from Steichen when he was here. And I had no problem with Shane Steichen at all. Really, the only problems I probably had with Steichen was, maybe, too many run designs with Jalen Hurts getting hit too much, not running the ball enough with Miles Sanders in the first half of maybe 5 to 6 games. And, that there really wasn't that much to really complain about. I mean, this offense, you had 2 1,000-yard receivers, you had a 1,000-yard running back, and over 4,000 passing-yard quarterback. Just fantastic. A finalist MVP. You know what I mean? So there's not really much there to really complain about. Of course, we can nitpick at everything, but Shane Steichen was a great offensive coordinator for us, and he definitely deserved a coaching job. There's no doubt. The one thing I wanted this offseason was Brian Johnson to stay in Philadelphia for Jalen Hurts, because him and Jalen Hurts have a really good relationship. Now, Brian Johnson did say, since he's the coordinator, is he going to spend as much time with Jalen Hurts? Not really. He said that he has a lot of faith in Alex Tanney, that quarterback coach that we have, a lot of quarterback experience over the years. Look, Tom Brady has had multiple quarterback coaches. Aaron Rodgers has had multiple quarterback coaches. I wouldn't make a big deal out of things like this. Like, it's not going to change Jalen's play style. It's not going to change anything. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a different quarterback coach, okay? It's just life. It's not going to change the way he is. It's not going to handicap him from doing things he shouldn't be doing, like things like that. Brian Johnson actually hangs out with other. The cool thing about Brian Johnson, he actually said in his press conference, was I actually hung out with the offensive line today, and I was in the room and make sure that they were getting the right, tape talk, all the stuff that's going on, with what they're trying to learn. And I really like that because not only is he's just not sitting there just calling, is going to call plays, but he actually, especially through this offseason process, he's hanging out in other rooms like the offensive line room to make sure that everything is up to date in what they're doing. Make sure that nothing is left out in their teachings. I really do like that a lot with Brian Johnson. He talked about DeAndre Swift. He talked about Rashad Penny, that, both of them add a different dynamic to the backfield, and he can't wait to use both of them. And how he's going to use both of them, he's not going to say, but he says it's very exciting that this run game could be really good this year. And, different skill sets and different guys you have in the backfield. So he kind of talked about that. His play calling style, obviously learned a lot from Shane Steichen, like I said, with structured adjusting play calling, matchups, stuff like that. A good game plan during the week is going to get you closer to a win. So, like I said, I think Brian Johnson, I think had play calling, offensive coordinator experience at, I think Florida State, I think it was Florida at the time, has been, I think, a quarterback coach as well in the past too. I think coached up Dak Prescott as well. So he's had some good coaching gigs in the past, but obviously, Brian Johnson hasn't jumped to a bunch of NFL teams, and the Eagles are really the only team he's really been on professionally as a coach, and really likes the building, really likes the people. He didn't want to leave Philadelphia. Like I said, that Jalen Hurts connection with Brian Johnson is great. But overall, I've never really worried about Brian Johnson because he has had, he's been a big part of the Eagles' game plan throughout the week with Shane Steichen, which is good. So we know he's going to be a little different. I think this playbook is going to open a little bit more. I think he's going to unleash Jalen Hurts a lot more this year. He even said, this team doesn't have a ceiling. It has another floor, which is another great thing that he said too, because as much as a ceiling only goes so far. But this offense can get to an even better level than it was last year. And I think the Eagles have the roster, because really, what changes did this offense really have this year? Personnel-wise, you lost Miles Sanders, whoop-de-doo. You lost Isaac Seumalo to the Steelers. Those are the only moves you really lost. Your offense was pretty much still intact the rest of the year. The rest of this offseason, you didn't have to resign. There really wasn't that big, not like if you lost, 12 guys on your offense, it'd be a problem, but you didn't, so that was really it. I mean, nothing much there. I'm not really worried about Brian Johnson too much. I'm kind of, I'm interested to see what this offense is going to look like. Is there going to be more read options? Is it going to be, obviously this is a pass first offense. Nick Sirianni, this offense goes through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. That's just a fact in the passing game. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see what Brian Johnson's going to bring this year. So I was really, it was really cool to hear about everything like that, which was great. Lastly, the least person I like to talk about that makes me want to put two of my fingers down my throat and throw up all over the floor is Michael Clay. How much can I really understand this? I don't know, because number one, Michael Clay is a Chip Kelly disciple, which that's like a no-no in my book. Number two, the one thing I could say is there's a lot of PR statements. He's just saying stuff to say it. But the one thing I could say he talked about was punter. Okay, now that new guy we got undrafted, that guy, Legatron. Okay, that not only got 11 out of 11, field goals last year, not only could kick but could punt as well. Which, if you got both, that's great. God forbid Jake Elliott, messes up his foot or something, or he stretches out. All they have to do is just stretch out their leg or twisted ankle, and that's really it. And you gotta get another guy out there. That Legatron, you talked about, Aaron Sipos, you talked about this. He really had a lot of praise for this new punter on the Philadelphia Eagles because he's punting like 70-something yards, 60 to 70-something yards. It's absolutely insane. If you've seen tape of him, you got to watch it. It's kind of nuts, but really started praising him a little bit. Sipos has to go. If Sipos ends up making the roster, it's because Michael Clay just likes him too much, and it's personal. It's not because the team. It's not because of the team. It's because he personally likes him and wants to keep him here. Sipos needs to go. Both those punters, that ex-Titans punter that we signed, both of them were god awful. And this new kid might actually get a chance to be a new punter here, which is great. Undrafted guy here for a few years, on a really cheap deal. You know what I mean? Punters can get some money. You never know. Like, I'm not saying they get paid a lot of money, but, you're saving money, definitely a lot more money than what you'd be if he was, a Pro Bowl punter or something like that. But still cheap regardless. But, the punter position is probably one of the most biggest positions. He talked about, obviously, the competition with special teams that everybody's going to compete. The blocking scheme for punt return and kick returns needs to be better. It's just not good enough. Covey definitely needs some competition. Boston Scott needs competition on kick returns. They need to watch out for guys off waivers later on. They need to watch out in August when they start cutting guys. They need to find out if they could grab somebody maybe in August. I know it's kind of late, but they need to try to at least grab somebody that's got some speed. Now, the Eagles, I don't know if they picked up a lot of special team guys, but they'll have some guys here. I forgot one name I had in my head, and I totally lost it, that played for Western Kentucky. That's another guy that obviously has some speed. They have some special teamers that they could use. I think Covey was just very raw last year. He showed... He showed some flashes. I think after the Pittsburgh game, that's when Michael Clay really started to ramp up on this special teams group because they just were playing so horrible. They were playing good for a while. They had some good returns here and there, and then they kind of went back down again. So it was very up and down with special teams. This is the third part of your game, a punt, to the middle of the field in the Super Bowl got Kansas City back in the red zone again. It's just the coaching has got to get better here. This is Michael Clay's last year. I mean, I don't know. I think they actually extended Michael Clay. Never mind. I'm being stupid in my mind right now. They actually gave him more money and they extended him. Why? I don't know. I have no idea why. This guy, I don't know. I'm not a fan of him. This is the third part of our game that, if you want to talk about the weakest part of this team, it's our third part of our game at special teams. There's no doubt. I think Covey, obviously, with another offseason, probably get better. Will they give Devin Allen a shot? Will they use somebody else? I don't know. I'm actually excited to see during training camp, OTAs, like who they're using, who's on the list for punt returns from these beat writers. Will be at these practices. We'll get to see who they have lined up or who they have depth-wise on trying out punt returns, kick returns, all that stuff. I don't really like Boston Scott kick return. I really don't even like... I don't necessarily hate Covey at punt return, but like I said, he was too raw last year. Like I said, he was, undrafted guy, got his shot, and I'm surprised they never made a change during the year. I mean, you can move Covey back to the active roster 3 times and that's it, but they never gave Devin Allen a shot. They never, I don't want Devontae Smith. I don't want Quez Watkins back there. We need them for our offense, so I'm not really. Maybe Zacchaeus, maybe the new guy we got from the Falcons, maybe he could do it. I don't know what they're going to have here, but it's going to be really interesting to see, and that's really all, man. I can't really say too much about special teams, but that's really it going forward. But we talked about Brian Johnson. We talked about, obviously, the press conference in Sean Desai, and every word I loved. I mean, I love this guy already. Got to see what he brings to the field. Talk is talk at the end of the day. But I feel like I'm looking at a guy that's talking to us, and just I believe every word he's saying. I don't think there's fakeness towards him. I don't feel like he's like just saying stuff to say it. I feel like it's pretty realistic, and I feel like he's going to be very. Like, he's upholding the standard to this defense so high that he is going to be so just attention to detail and, not like he's going to micromanage so much, but if he micromanages a little bit, I have no problem with that. That just makes us better at the end of the day. A night and day coach, a night and day defense from what we've seen last year. Obviously, it's a historical year last year, but where it counted the most, we couldn't get it done, and that's what we're trying to do, get a second trophy back to Philadelphia where it belongs. If you lasted this long during the video, we went over 25 minutes. Crazy video. If you last this long, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video as well for more Eagles content, and we'll have a video on the schedule very soon. That's coming out. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about the Sean Desai press conference in general, how you felt about him, what you took out of it. Is there something I missed? Let me know, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, Shake Squad up, follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.